Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Nerd Herders. My name is Rich.
I'm Nick.
Thanks for being here with us today, Nick. And today we're going to be talking about what we've been up to. So what we've been playing, what we've been watching, things like that. So Nick, what have you been up to?
Well, I think our discussion this week will include some of that.
Okay.
So you can stay tuned tomorrow. A comic came out today as we're recording. DC Rebirth? Universe?
I think it's just
Universe?
DC Rebirth? I don't know.
It's got the universe in there.
Okay.
DC Universe Rebirth or something. So we're going to talk all about that. The DC Comics comic book lineup has been completely rebooted and restarted, and we're going to talk about everything that means. So stay tuned for that. But one thing that I did want to catch up on is we are now at the halfway point, as you're watching this, past it, of Game of Thrones. Season 6.
Okay.
So I'm not going to do any spoilers or anything. I just wanted to say that the season has been very good through 5 episodes. Really, really good. Some big things have happened. And it's just kind of an exciting time because nearly everything that is happening is now past the books. So there's no more threat of spoilers out there. It's all uncharted territory.
Well, I know when it's going to happen, so I'm going to spoil it for you because I've read the books.
They can't do that anymore. They do not know. This past week's episode 5, The Door, is what it was called, was a really great episode. It was directed by Jack Bender, who directed essentially every major episode of Lost that was not called the pilot. And this was his Game of Thrones debut, and he delivered the goods. It was action-packed, there were revelations, there was heartbreaking moments. It's been a very strong season, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it wraps up. The other thing that I thought I would mention, we're going to be launching our Over a Beer podcast soon. But one thing I did talk about on the first episode of that, which we have recorded, I watched a movie called Sing Street.
Okay.
And this is a new film from director John Carney, who previously directed Once and Begin Again. And this sticks with his musical theme. He has a musical background. And it's a great movie.
Yeah.
Just a really, really entertaining movie. Kind of a feel-good movie, but just a fun watch. But also meaningful. Like, it's one of those coming-of-age stories that kind of sticks with you. It's been days now since I watched it, and I still find myself thinking about it, thinking about the music in it, thinking about the characters. But basically, without giving too much away, it takes place in the 80s. It's about a young boy in late 80s Ireland who has to get transferred to a new school because his parents don't have much money. And it's the school called Sing Street, which is a real school. It's where John Carney went. And he meets a couple of friends, and they form a band. But, like, basically he does this because he sees a beautiful girl, and the night before he had watched a Duran Duran music video, and music videos are new at this point. And she's beautiful, and she says she's a model, and he says, well, I have a band, and we want you in a music video, because he wants to get to talk to her more. But he doesn't have a band, and he doesn't have a music video, so he has to create one. But the music's great in it. It's a delightful movie. There are some people that you'd recognize, Game of Thrones fans, like I just talked about. Littlefinger is in that, Aidan Gillen, and a couple other people, but it's good. I mean, you've seen John Carney's other movies?
I've seen once. I've not seen Begin Again.
Oh, you haven't watched Begin Again?
No, I really want to see it, though.
Begin Again was one of my top 10
That's what,
movies
Mark
of that year.
Ruffalo and Keira Knightley? Okay.
It's on Netflix.
Okay.
You
Maybe I'll
should
watch that
definitely
tonight.
check that out. I liked it a lot. But yeah, Sing Street, it's, I don't know, all 3 of his movies are really good, but it's
I do want to try to make it. I don't know if I'll have time, just because I know it hasn't done super well in the theaters, just because
not here in the States.
it's not, you know,
but it does seem
Minions.
destined to be one of those movies that people,
like word of mouth kind of.
word of mouth will drive it. It will have a following. Once became a Broadway musical. This seems destined to become that as well. It would work perfectly in that venue, but it's really good. The
Cool.
music's
I didn't know anything about the plot. That sounds
It's
really
good.
cool. I just knew it was the same director as Once, and I'm like, okay, I'm
Yeah,
in.
I loved Once. I loved Begin Again. So I never saw a trailer for this. I never thought
I haven't seen it.
I didn't see. I honestly, I was like, all right, I'll go see that
Yeah.
when it comes out. I know what I need to know, but it's good. Yeah,
Cool.
Check it out. What have you been up to?
I have not been up to much.
Beat Doom?
I was gonna watch Preacher.
Yeah, oh yeah, I haven't watched it yet
And
either.
I started it, and it was late, and I fell asleep like 10 minutes in.
I've got that on the DVR.
So
Maybe
I'm gonna go
next
back.
week
We'll
talk
talk about that next week. We'll have 2 episodes then next week to talk about for it, hopefully. Since the only thing that I've been up to is I saw the movie The Family Fang. It's playing at NZ. It's Jason Bateman's new movie. Like his new directorial.
Oh, okay.
Movie.
All right.
It stars him, Nicole Kidman, Christopher Walken. I can't remember who plays the mom in it. But it's about this family who like does these really crazy art pieces like in like public. So like it opens up with this like in this bank, and this little kid walks up to like the teller, and he gives the teller a note and says, "Give me all the lollipops or else I'll shoot," or something like that. And she's like, "Oh, it's cute," and she hands him a lollipop. And then the kid actually pulls out a gun to her, and she starts giving it all to him. And while this is happening, the security guard goes and tackles him. And while this is happening, the kid's gun goes off. And then you turn and you see this girl like crying over her mother. That, oh, And then it turns out that they're like one family that like set up this. I don't know what you want to call it, a prank, but this.
Like a performance piece?
Yeah, kind of like a performance piece, like in public with unsuspecting bystanders. And so they use their kids in this like throughout their childhood. And this is, 30 years after they're, 18 and they move out and they leave. And an accident with the son, he gets like hit in the head with like a potato gun or something and can't like fly or leave. So the only people who can come get him are his parents. And so they call like his sister to, come get me and save me from our parents and stuff. And it just kind of brings the family back together, and kind of that there's dysfunction, and they're trying to, the father's trying to rekindle and restart their performance piece, culture. I don't want to get too much into spoilers of it because it kind of takes an interesting turn. Do
you think this was entirely his elevator pitch for the film?
Probably, yeah. Yeah, this is it. Yeah. It's good. It's weird. It's a weird movie.
I never saw Bad Words.
That was good. That
was his first film, right?
Yeah, it was good. I don't remember it being like amazing, but it was solid. I mean, it's a movie that if I didn't know he directed it, I wouldn't have been like, oh yeah, like that's a Jason Bateman movie. Like
I had no idea what this movie was. Even when you saw it, I didn't know that it was Jason Bateman. I didn't know it had Walken and Kidman. Like, it sounds bigger. Like, I should know what it is.
Yeah, like it's one of those like smaller movies that has like big people in it that you would think would be getting a push, but it's not.
Maybe because
but it's weird enough.
Not easily explainable.
Yeah, like it's not super.
Yeah.
I could see a lot of mainstream people like not being into this, or like normal. Like you talk about Sing Street's not really getting much. I could see this being just kind of like them going into it like, oh, it's got Jason Bateman and it's gonna be Walken. It's what? Why are they? This is weird. This is dark. Like what? So. I mean, it's good, though. It's still playing here at NZ in Orlando, if you want to check it out. I don't think it's getting a wide release, though. So, cool. But that's really all I've been up to.
All right.
And if you watch Game of Thrones, don't spoil it online. That's my one thing I got to say about this. About your Game of Thrones. I feel like this has been the worst episode for spoilers.
See, I don't know. I heard an interesting conversation on whether or not things about this episode should be considered spoilers, or if they were not.
Now, I have not watched Game of Thrones since season 1.
Right. So.
And
that's your fault.
I know. I am, but
not this episode. Like, I think that there is a leeway period, but like, I would say at this point, if somebody came up to you, I'm sure you've heard the term red wedding before.
I know what the red wedding is. But I don't know who dies in the red wedding.
I think if that was spoiled for you in some way, I would say.
At this point,
statute of limitations.
Yes, at this point, that's my fault. But I'm talking about like the new episode.
Sure.
So same thing with this or Walking Dead or anything like that. Else. Like when big events happen and you post like pictures or image, like a buddy of mine tweeted out and was like, if you people thinking that you post a picture of a character in a sad face isn't a spoiler, like you're
that's
wrong.
A spoiler.
Like that's a spoiler.
That's a spoiler.
Like I saw a lot of people like posting stuff like that. And I'm like, well, I don't even watch the show, and I already know. Like,
I'm sure you saw the trending hashtag, and that
everybody at work was like,
I don't think is a spoiler.
Okay.
I don't think that if you didn't know what that meant, or even if you did, well, you would have no way of knowing what it meant. And I think if you just saw the phrase out of context, that's not a spoiler.
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
Okay.
I really don't. I think that posting a picture with a sad face, 100%.
Yeah, well,
is.
there was-
Or a character name with a sad face.
There was
that's
that image
100%.
going around of the elevator. Did you see that?
Yes.
Okay. With like the picture, I'm like, that's clearly. I would consider that a spoiler.
But what I would say is, there have been other deaths on this show, Game of Thrones, that come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And in this case, it's not an out of nowhere thing.
Okay.
It's a different type of death for the show where it is highly telegraphed that it is going to happen, and it's the way. It's like the entire episode in a way is
It's like almost a send off.
When a character steps onto a little beam on the Force
Yeah.
Awakens, and you just know it's going to happen, but the way that it happens and that's what makes it emotional.
Okay.
It's a different situation, but just the phrase that came from that, I don't consider a spoiler.
Okay.
But I agree, don't post spoilers.
Yeah. Don't be an asshole.
At least for a while.
If you want to go back, we have a whole rant on spoiler etiquette.
We do.
You can go back and watch that. But that's all I've been up to. And if you've done nothing else, if you want to keep up though with things that we are up to as we are doing them, you can follow both of us on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at Rich Belson.
I'm at Stonks.
The channel is on Twitter at oabeer_official, and you can email us at overbeerofficial@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/overbeer, and Instagram over_a_beer, and YouTube, of course, youtube.com/overbeer, where next Tuesday we will be releasing our very first beer review. So you can check that out. You can keep up with us on Untapped, Over a Beer, one word, and find out what we've been drinking and what we've been rating things. We'll probably post some stuff on Instagram to coincide with our beer reviews as well. I think Nick has some pictures of stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. So we'll post some Instagram stuff for that as well. But that'll wrap things up for today. So until next time, drink up.